Author and social justice advocate Tipper Gore once said, "We know that mental illness is not something that happens to other people. It touches us all. Why then is mental illness met with so much misunderstanding and fear? Why is that? Is it because humans have a tendency to fear concepts or ideas that they do not understand? Regardless, a stigma has developed around mental illness. Those affected with some type of mental illness are often considered weak or not trying hard enough by today's standards. These people are often overcome with feelings of shame and abnormality, all over something they cannot control. Sometimes people crack jokes about this subject, especially over social media, using PTSD or an anxiety disorder as a punchline. Those jokes seem harmless until you or someone you love is affected by them. Someone I love is affected by them. My older sister, Maggie, has inattentive type ADHD, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. While it may not seem like a big deal compared to something like schizophrenia, it is a big deal to her and to my family. It impacts all facets of her life and drives my family dynamic. But my sister is not the only one with a life that involves a mental illness. Millions of people in the United States alone are impacted by mental illness every year. The problem is we often treat people diagnosed with mental illness like there's something wrong with them, like they needed to be handled differently than what they are, human. This is why I want to put the benefit of understanding and accepting mental illness to the Rotary 4-way test. This test relates to the things we say, think, or do and asks 4 questions. Is it the truth? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? And is it beneficial to all concerned? To begin putting the benefit of understanding and accepting mental illness under the microscope, one has to ask the question, is it the truth? According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, NAMI, approximately 18.5% of U.S. adults, that's 43.8 million people, experience a type of mental illness every year. 21.4% of youth aged 13 through 18 experience mental or emotional challenges. This is a great deal of people. These are our friends, our neighbors, our family members. 90% of people who commit suicide in the United States have an underlying mental condition. Mental health should be taken just as seriously as physical health, yet this is not the case. About 50% of youth and 60% of adults do not receive sufficient mental health care, says the NAMI. So yes, the truth is that the United States and her inhabitants need to change the way they view mental illness because it is the reality. Now that we have established that there are an abundance of people who experience mental illness every year and that there's a problem in the way they are taken care of, one has to ask the second question of the Rotary 4-way test. Is it fair to all concerned? The answer is yes. Whether we like it or not, everyone will encounter someone with a mental illness at some point in their life. It could be someone who you come home to every day and love, or it could be the bagger in the grocery store. It does not matter. It is our responsibility as members of the human family to treat every person with respect. It will not be beneficial to approach this subject with the attitude of separation. There is no them in this equation. There's only us, and our job to treat people, not like faulty machines. We need to be empathetic. We need to take a step back and walk in their shoes. Every time my sister does something that absolutely drives me up a wall, I need to force myself to stop and picture what frustration must be going on in her head, and then reapproach the situation with understanding and patience. It is not only my job as her sister to do so, but also my job as someone who will never fully understand what it's like to live with ADHD. Several people are credited with the quote, "When you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change." This brings us to the third question. Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Again, the answer is a resounding yes. That quote was meant to explain the point of perspective. How do we see things? Are we looking for what we want to see or what is actually there? Over the past year, one of my best friends has been suffering from depression and anxiety. For a while, our friendship suffered because I was, again, unable to see things from her perspective, but incredibly frustrated with her. I was not trying to accept who she was, I was trying to fix her. When someone experiences these problems, it is not our job to fix them, but rather to love them right where they are and treat them with dignity no matter what. You cannot control the way people are, but you can control the way you act and the friendships you foster. If you actively choose to treat every person you encounter the same way, then the past stigma of mental illness will begin to break down. The final question is, will it be beneficial to all concerned? We have established that everyone is concerned whether you have a mental illness or will experience someone with one at a point in your life. Will it be beneficial for everyone if we begin viewing mental illness with understanding and acceptance? I say yes. All you need to do is watch the evening news or scroll through your Twitter or Instagram feed to realize that the world is full of hate. Many people are angry, misunderstood, and hurt. One of the biggest groups affected by all this hate is the mentally ill. I know that I want to make the world a better place, and I know that you, by virtue of your dedications as Rotarians, take this responsibility seriously. By choosing to treat someone who experiences mental emotional problems, someone who's already viewed as being at the bottom of the societal totem pole, with respect, patience, and overall kindness, you've already begun to build a better world. A society should be judged based upon how it treats its weakest members. The United States is not making sure that even its weakest members are being taken care of. Then what do we have? We have a society that will continue in a cycle of hate and fear with no end in sight. What does this make my sister then? She is not a statistic, nor is she defined by any one label. My sister is a person with interests and hopes and dreams, just like everyone else diagnosed with ADHD. The same can be said for those living with depression, PTSD, anxiety, body dysmorphia, schizophrenia, or any other diagnosed condition. By putting the benefit of understanding and accepting mental illness to the Rotary four-way test, I hope I have shown the importance of giving fairness, respect, and plain kindness to a group of people who do not always receive those things. And I hope I have given you something to think about. Thank you for listening.